Oops, my brother called, so part two. It was very like Rose a year ago. This point being settled, the doctor showed the second picture was received with great approbation and pronounced a charming likeness. It certainly was, and a striking contrast to the first one, for it was a blooming, smiling face full of girlish spirit and health, with no sign of melancholy, though the soft eyes were thoughtful and the lines about the lips betrayed a sensitive nature. Dr. Alex set both photographs on the chimney piece and, falling back a step or two, surveyed them with infinite satisfaction for several minutes, then wheeled round, saying briefly as he pointed to the two faces, "Time is up. How do you think my experiment has succeeded, ladies?" "Bless me, so it is," cried Aunt Plenty, dropping a stitch in her surprise. "Beautifully, dear," answered Aunt Peace, smiling entire approval. "She certainly has improved, but appearances are deceitful, and she had no constitution to build upon," croaked Aunt Myra. "I'm willing to allow that, as far as mere health goes, the experiment is a success," graciously observed Aunt Jane, unable to forget Rose's kindness to her Mac. "So am I, and I'll go farther, for I really do believe Alec has done wonders for the child. She'll be a beauty in 2 or 3 years," added Aunt Clara, feeling that she could say nothing better than that. "I always knew he would succeed, and I'm so glad you all allow it, for he deserves more credit than you know, and more praise than he will ever get," cried Aunt Jessie, clapping her hands with an enthusiasm that caused Jamie's little red stocking to wave like a triumphal banner in the air. Dr. Alec made them a splendid bow, looking much gratified, and then said soberly, "Thank you. Now, the question is, shall I go on? For this is only the beginning. None of you know the hindrances I've had, the mistakes I've made, the study I've given the case, and the anxiety I've often felt. Sister Myra is right. I think it's supposed to be in instead. And one thing, Rose is a delicate creature, quick to flourish in the sunshine, and as quick to droop without it. She has no special weakness, but inherits her mother's sensitive nature and needs the wisest, tenderest care to keep a very ardent little soul from wearing out a finely organized little body. I think I've found the right treatment, and with you to help me, I believe we all may build up a lovely and noble woman who will be a pride and comfort to us all." There, Dr. Alex stopped to get his breath, for he had spoken very earnestly, and his voice got a little husky over the last words. A gentle murmur from the aunts seemed to encourage him, and he went on with the engaging smile, for the good man was slyly trying to win all the ladies to vote for him when the time came. "Now, I don't wish to be selfish or arbitrary, because I'm her guardian, and I shall leave Rose free to choose for herself. We all want her, and if she likes to make her home with any of you rather than me, she shall do so. In fact, I encouraged her visits last winter that she might see what we can all offer her and judge where she will be the happiest. Is not that the fairest way? Will you agree to abide by her choice, as I do?" "Yes, we will," said all the aunts, in quite a flutter of excitement at the prospect of having Rose for a whole year. "Good. She will be here directly, and then we will settle the question for another year. A most important year, mind you, for she's got a good start and will blossom rapidly now if all goes well with her. So I beg of you, don't undo my work, but deal very wisely and gently with my little girl, for if any harm come to her, I think it would break my heart." As he spoke, Dr. Alec turned his back abruptly and affected to be examining the pictures again, But the aunts understood how dear the child was to the solitary man who had loved her mother years ago, and who now found his happiness in cherishing the little Rose who was so like her. The good ladies nodded and sighed and telegraphed to one another that none of them would complain if not chosen, or ever try to rob Brother Alec of his heart's delight, as the boys called Rose. Just then a pleasant sound of happy voices came up from the garden, and smiles broke out on all the serious faces. Dr. Alec turned at once, saying as he threw back his head, "There she is, now for it." The cousins had been a-maying and soon came flocking in laden with the spoils. "Here is our bonny Scotch Rose with all her thorns about her," said Dr. Alec, surveying her with unusual pride and tenderness, as she went to show Aunt Peace her basket full of early flowers, fresh leaves, and curious lichens. "Leave your clutter in the hall, boys, and sit quietly down if you choose to stop here, for we are busy," said Aunt Plenty, shaking her finger at the turbulent clan, who were bubbling over with the jollity born of spring sunshine and healthy exercise. "Of course we choose to stay. Wouldn't miss our Saturday high tea for anything," said the chief, as he restored order among his men with a nod, a word, and an occasional shake. "What is up? A court-martial?" asked Charlie, looking at the assembled ladies with affected awe and real curiosity, for these faces betrayed that some interesting business was afloat. Dr. Alec explained in a few words, which he made as brief and calm as he could, but the effect was exciting nevertheless, for each of the lads began at once to bribe, entice, and wheedle our cousin to choose his home. "You really ought to come to us for Mother's sake as a relish, you know, for she must be perfectly satiated with boys," began Archie, using the strongest argument he could think of at the moment. "Oh, do! We'll never slam or bounce at you or call you 'fraid cat, if you only will," besought Geordie and Will, distorting their countenances in the attempt to smile with overpowering sweetness. "And I'll always wash my hands 'fore I touch you, and you shall be my dolly 'cause Pokey's gone away. And I'll love you hard," cried Jamie, clinging to her with his chubby face full of affection. "Brothers and sister ought to live together, especially when the brother needs someone to make home pleasant for him," added Charlie, with the wheedlesome tone and look that Rose always found so difficult to resist. "You had her longest, and it's our turn now. Mac needs her more than you do, Prince, for she's the light of his eyes. He says, 'Come, Rose, choose us, and I'll never use the musky pomade for his hair.' You hate again as long as I live," said Steve with his most killing air as he offered this noble sacrifice. Mac peered wistfully over his goggles, saying in an unusually wide-awake and earnest way, "Do, cousin. Then we can study chemistry together. My experiments don't blow up very often now, and the gases aren't at all bad when you get used to them." Rose, meantime, had stood quite still with the flowers dropping from her hands as her eyes went from one eager face to another, while smiles rippled over her own at the various enticements offered her. During the laugh that followed Mac's handsome proposal, she looked at her uncle, whose eyes were fixed on her with an expression of love and longing that went to her heart. "Ah, yes," she thought, "he wants me most. I've often longed to give him something that he wished for very much, and now I can." So when, at a sudden gesture from Aunt Peace, silence fell, Rose said slowly, with a pretty color in her cheeks and a beseeching look about the room as if asking pardon of the boys, "It's very hard to choose when everybody is so fond of me. Therefore, I think I'd better go to the one who seems to need me most." No, dear, the one you love the best and will be the happiest with, said Dr. Alec quickly, as a doleful sniff from Aunt Myra and a murmur of my sainted Caroline made Rose pause and look that way. Take time, cousin. Don't be in a hurry to make up your mind. And remember, Codlin's your friend, added Charlie, hopeful still. I don't want any time. I know who I love best, who I'm happiest with, and I choose Uncle. Will he have me? Cried Rose in a tone that produced a sympathetic thrill among the hearers. It was so full of tender confidence and love. If she really had any doubt, the look in Dr. Alec's face banished it without a word as he opened wide his arms, and she ran into them, feeling that home was there. No one spoke for a minute, but there were signs of emotion among the aunts which warmed the boys to bestir themselves before the waterworks began to play. So they took hands and began to prance about uncle and niece, singing with sudden inspiration the nursery rhyme, Ring Around the Rosy. Of course, that put an end to all sentiment, and Rose emerged laughing from Dr. Alec's bosom with the mark of a waistcoat button nicely imprinted on her left cheek. He saw it and said with a merry kiss that half effaced it, This is my ewe lamb, and I have set my mark on her so no one can steal her away. That tickled the boys, and they set up a shout of, Uncle had a little lamb. But Rose hushed the noise by slipping into the circle and making them dance prettily like lads and lasses around a maypole, while Phoebe, coming in with fresh water for the flowers, began to twitter, chirp, and coo as if all the birds of the air had come to join in the spring revel of the 8 cousins. And that's it. I was ready to read some more. So tomorrow we'll start reading Rose in Bloom, a sequel to 8 Cousins. And it has 22 chapters. And the last one had 24. Okay. Have a wonderfully crafty day. Be sweet, don't be ugly. And sorry, I'm scratching my nose. Madonna said. And I knew it before she texted me. She said, Do you know I love you, but it looks like you're picking your nose. Reading yesterday, so I edited it. I'm always, my nose is itching, or I'm doing this with my mouth. That'll probably be my thumbnail for this one. In which case, I'll have to fix it. But thank you, Madonna. I didn't want everybody to think I was picking my nose either. It's just itchy. Love y'all. Hope to see you at 3. And today is StreamYard Saturday. Tomorrow's StreamYard Sunday. So come and we'll see if I get any better with this platform I struggle with. Oh, my God. Love ya. And we have trivia today. Crochet trivia. Love you. Bye.